And in the past, what is it, the past 45 minutes or so, 4 more resignations. I understand, and I know it's complicated keeping a tally on the numbers here. We understand at the moment what that means, that there are 24 vacancies currently in the cabinet as whatever it is, 7:45 on a Thursday morning. Let's speak now to Matt Hancock, former Health Secretary, of course, and MP. Mr. Hancock, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Can I ask you in a very straightforward way, what's your message to Boris Johnson this morning?
Well, with great sadness, it's time for the Prime Minister to resign. Unfortunately, he's lost the confidence of his cabinet. He's lost the confidence of the parliamentary party, and it's time for him to stand down. And whether that happens today or whether it happens next week is second order, really. It's time for the Prime Minister to resign.
Why is that second order? Because as people are getting a picture this morning, and these are senior cabinet ministers describing chaos in cabinet, with a country to run and all the issues around the financial crisis, around COVID, and decisions to be made. Why is it that it could take days?
Well, obviously it would be far better, not only for the country, but also for the Prime Minister himself, if he were to resign today, to recognise that there isn't the support for him, even in his own cabinet, for him to continue. And I say this having supported him through thick and thin. And with sadness, we worked together incredibly closely on the vaccine rollout and getting through COVID. He's done an amazing job on supporting Ukraine, but he has lost the confidence not just of the Parliamentary Conservative Party, but also of his own inner team, his cabinet. And so it's time to go. It would be far better if it didn't have to wait till next week. But my point, I suppose, I was trying to make is that it is inevitable that the Prime Minister will have to resign in the next few days. So it would be far better if he were to resign now, because we need to get on to the future and making sure that we can unite the country and put forward and deliver on the positive agenda, because ironically there isn't much disagreement in the Conservative Party on the positive agenda we need to get going with, but it's no longer possible for the Prime Minister to deliver that.
Mr. Hancock, you've sat at the highest level in Cabinet, you've sat in meetings. Can you help us with understanding what are the implications in terms of running the country when you have 24 vacancies unfilled? I understand this morning as well there are individuals, Conservative MPs. I'm just looking at some of the tweets that have been coming in this morning. This is in connection with Wales. This is David T.C. Davis, who was Under Secretary of State for Wales, was asked to be Welsh Secretary, Simon Hart, of course, having resigned, and he's tweeted this morning that he didn't take the job. He couldn't take the job. So you're in a situation where individuals, Conservative MPs, are not prepared to take the roles that remain vacant. Can you talk us through the practical implications of a government trying to run in that situation?
Well, there has to be a minister in each department, and there's several departments where there's only one minister right now. This is another reason why it will be best for the country and best for Boris if he were to resign now, so that we can have, obviously, typically the Prime Minister stays in post whilst somebody else is elected, and we need to make sure that in that future leadership election, which is coming very soon, in fact, somebody even announced they were standing last night, we need to make sure that we have a new Prime Minister who can unite North and South, who can bring the country together and deliver for people in these very tough economic times. So we've got to make sure that we've got the right candidate with the right programme. And as I say, there's support behind the government's programme. There's a majority, very significant majority in the House of Commons, and there's a lot of work to do. But unfortunately, the Prime Minister has lost the confidence of his party and his cabinet. And so now we need to get on to making sure we can find the right candidate who can appeal to all parts, the broad church of the of Conservative voters and make sure that we can appeal to all parts of the country, Scotland, Wales, and the north and the south.
This morning, I think, Mr. Hancock, it's very much about practicalities. Help me with this one. The Deputy Prime Minister is Dominic Raab. Now, if Boris Johnson were to resign, and he's given no indication that he's prepared to do that, well, should Dominic Raab take over? Dominic Raab, at this point, has not criticised the Prime Minister. He has said nothing about the Prime Minister's behaviour or character. So what should happen immediately? Who should take on that role?
Well, the normal process is that the Prime Minister stays in post whilst a leadership election takes place. That would be the absolutely...
Is that the right thing to happen?
Well, that's the normal and I would say the right thing to happen. Of course, Dominic Raab has stood in for the Prime Minister in the past, but that isn't what normally happens. And I think we rely on conventions in this country, and one of the conventions is that the Prime Minister stays to ensure that there's a smooth handover to who comes next. And I think it is important that we have a discussion about what comes next, as well as who, and making sure that the future...
Can I be, Mr. Hancock, I'm sorry to interrupt, can I be absolutely clear about this? Given what you and your colleagues have said about the Prime Minister, you're still saying that he should remain in post to hand over for what, a matter of months?
Yes, that's absolutely how the system works in the UK, because remember, an election is an election of individual members of Parliament, and the majority that the party has in Parliament stands. It is not a personal individual mandate. It is the election of parliamentary representatives. That's how our system works. So absolutely, the quite normal thing, and what would be totally appropriate in these circumstances, would be for the Prime Minister, for the good not just of the country but of himself, to come out of the door behind you, to announce that he recognises that he needs to go, and for an orderly process to be put in place. And then, as I say, it is really important that we get the discussion right about that, and we look for somebody who can unite the country after what have been some difficult times.
So, Matt Hancock, as we've been speaking, Guy Openham, who's the Pensions Minister, has tendered his resignation as well. I don't know if you have a thought about that particularly, but also I just need to get very clear from you. Would you intend to run to be a candidate to be Prime Minister?
No, I'm not going to run, but I do care very deeply that we have a new Prime Minister who can appeal to all parts and who is competent and serious and can take this country forward, because I think the platform that we've got, that Conservative MPs were elected on 2.5 years ago, I think that platform is important, it's strong, it's popular, and I think it can bring people together. So I care very much what the next candidate, the next Prime Minister, stands for, and being able to unite the country with competent, serious leadership. I think that's the most important thing, but it won't be me.
Matt Hancock, thank you very much for your time this morning.